What's up, YouTube? This is Too Raw for TV. Alright, so before I get into this video, I want to give a shout out to a few subscribers for showing love to the channel. Much respect to Mark for the $5 donation via the Cash App. Leaves a note saying, "Good, honest content, brother. Keep it up." I'm going to try my best, bro. Try my best to keep up the content for you guys. Also want to give a shout out to Terry for the $5 donation via the Cash App. Says, "Only one can win. Lace them up, Bucks." Absolutely got a Bucks fan in the house. Hey, man, just got Jay Crowder. The Bucks definitely should be in the mix of things when things are said and done. They definitely should be one of the teams favored to win a championship. Much respect to Kelvin for the $10 donation via the Cash App. Much respect to Kelvin for showing love to Too Raw for TV. And I want to give a shout out to Xavier for his donation to the channel as well. And I see your video requests. So I'm a little bit late getting to that. I'm going to try to knock out, if not one, today, definitely both of them by tomorrow. So much respect to you for showing love to the channel. And shout out to Michael for the $25 donation via the Cash App. And I see your video request, and it's a really good question and observation, one which I agree with. So shout out to all of you who show love to this channel, Too Raw for TV, Too Raw for Sports. Those of you who signed up to my Patreon, I put out a couple of videos last couple of days. I'm going to try to, like I said, be more active on the Patreon, at least 15 to 20 videos a month on the Patreon. All right. Let me ask you guys a question. I guess this goes to anybody who is 25 years of age and up. You should be old enough to remember Derrick Rose. Does anybody think, when you look at Morant, that he's trying to be like what he interprets as the Derrick Rose of his generation? I mean, they're both explosive guards who play above the rim. Now, in Derrick Rose's era, guards couldn't quite do what these guys do today because of the rules. Now, the rules was changing, but, it still was like close to regular basketball. I mean, the three ball was being shot a little bit more. There were some rules to make it a little bit easier considerably easier for point guards to score. It was definitely a perimeter-oriented game, trending even back then. But, you didn't have guards putting up 30-plus points a game on regularity back then, especially point guards. But D. Rose, the youngest MVP in NBA history, he was a breath of fresh air for Chicago. It's the only time, other than the Michael Jordan era, where Bulls fans finally felt like there was something to look forward to. And then that motherfucking Tom Thibodeau, who had a reputation for playing players into the ground. We saw how many minutes he used to play Jimmy Butler back then. He left Derrick Rose in a game that was already decided, and he suffered that freak injury which began the besiege of injuries that Derrick Rose would suffer. And to this day, he has never fully recovered from all the injuries that he has had to deal with. But Derrick Rose also came from Chicago. And he grew up in the bad side of Chicago. Now, what John Morant likes to put out there for image, Derrick Rose actually was living. And if anything, Derrick Rose was trying to, even though he had gang ties, and probably still does have gang ties, he lived that life. And I'm not saying he was perfect. I remember the accusations. I remember some of the little small rumors and scuffles or whatever that allegedly happened. But you always got the impression that Derrick Rose was a good person. A good person that grew up in a effed up situation, and he made the best of it. And then, he had these injuries which robbed him of being perhaps one of the top 2 to 3 players of his generation. But he persevered. Even when us Bulls fans got, impatient with him. And I think he had that couple of great years with the Knicks individually. I think he had a great year individually with the Timberwolves. So Derrick Rose, still to this day, I believe he's playing with the Knicks. Hopefully he can find a home somewhere on a contender before everything is said and done. But having said all of that about him, there's something that can be said that John Morant is trying to bite off him. John Morant has always given him props, saying that he's like that Derrick Rose was an inspiration to him growing up. Their games had similarities. Derrick Rose, I think 1 year of college was in Memphis, which is where John Morant plays right now. And, when you look at all these different things, look at the way that John Morant's trying to behave, it's like he has been very influenced by Derrick Rose. But, bruh, like, at the end of the day, you can't fake that shit. People can see what's authentic and what's not. I'm not a gangster and never will pretend to be a gangster, because I've always wanted to run away from that type of shit. I had friends who were gangsters. I still have people who I associate with who live their lifestyle. I have people who I grew up with who died because of their lifestyle. I lived in one of the worst areas of Richmond back in the 90s, M&M Streets. If you live in Richmond, you know what I'm talking about, M&M. It's not a pretty thing living in the fucking hood. It can cause a lot of, I'm going to tell you something. It can cause, I think, the equivalency or close to it of what you see in a lot of troops, a lot of soldiers, when they have post-traumatic stress syndrome or generalized anxiety disorder. That shit is for real. You know what I'm saying? So look, like I said, I'm not no gangster. But it pisses me off when I see people like John Morant, who grew up in a nice home, who grew up in an affluent area, had a nice background. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with having grown up in a nice home with loving parents. Why do we embrace stupidity? Why do we embrace criminality so much? Why do we embrace ignorance? Why do we embrace, like inferiority? That's why I like Giannis, because Giannis is himself. Giannis doesn't feel like he has to put on an air or put on airs to be something that he's not. If at the end of the day your friends don't accept you for what you are, then they're not really your friends. You know what I'm saying? They're not really your friends if they can accept you for who you are. And I'm not saying John Morant's a total phony, but bro, when you going around, I let him live, man. Think I should do it to him? You think that's not you, man? That's not you. That's other people's lives. That's Derrick Rose's existence. That's what he was trying to get away from. I don't know why people. I don't know what it is, man. I know some people. I guess they feel like it gives them authenticity as a black man or whatever. At the end of the day, man, if I could do it all over again, I kind of wish I did grow up in a very affluent area instead of in the hood because of opportunities. But then again, one of the things that happens when you live in an affluent area is that sometimes it can kill your drive. And when you strive for something more, oftentimes it's when you grow up in a certain environment. And then when you grow up poor or if you grow up in the hood, it can push you to want more out of life. So sometimes you think to yourself, well, nah, maybe I wouldn't have had that drive to get out of that situation to be where I'm at today. You know what I'm saying? So, anyway, do you think that John Morant is trying to emulate a person like Derrick Rose? You know, a guy that in college, his 1 year in college, he played in Memphis. A guy that obviously had a huge influence from John Morant. Do you think some of the gangster shit comes from people like John Morant idolizing, a lot of these players' hushed life? You know what I'm saying? Like, I know a lot of these guys have gang ties, but they also realize that they're public figures. You know, and one of the things about being a public figure is you at the very least have to realize you have kids that look up to you. You have to be a role model. I'm fully aware that a lot of these players have gang ties. A lot of these players, some of them may even do some illegal shit on the side. Same thing is true of these politicians. I've read about, the Kennedys and Richard Nixon and Bush and their connections with the mafia. But as a public official, or someone who's in the public eye, you're supposed to put your public face out there. But y'all don't give a fuck. Y'all trying to create this image of someone that he's not. And I just think that ultimately, it's going to cost him. But anyway, tell me what you guys think.